Hey gang, it's Thursday, September 16th, and it's time for your weekly update, and I'm Jeff. And did you know that as a human being, your brain does something when you see patterns? We have talked about this in the past, but it's been a while, so I'm going to bring it up again. There's this thing called pareidolia, and it's a word that maybe you should learn, and it's not a word you hear as often as maybe we should. Pareidolia is an important word. It is the word that describes the tendency for humans to see faces in objects. And we do it all the time. It's the human tendency to think that a particular arrangement of stars looks like a hunter or a lion. It's the human tendency to look at clouds and be like, that looks like Godzilla. Actually, this happened to me when we were on our anniversary trip to Alaska. I was looking up as we were chilling out one afternoon, and I saw a cloud that looked exactly like the state of Alaska. While I was in Alaska, I thought, well, that's kind of crazy. So I got my phone out and I took a picture of it, and the cloud was starting to disperse, but you can see what I mean. Sometimes we see things and we're like, that is totally a face. Like this puzzle of the sun behind me that I use to remind myself that Jesus came to seek and save that which was lost, the same way I worked really, really hard to find the missing piece after we spent a month on that puzzle. And you might look at that and be like, oh, there are patterns in that. That looks like a face. And if I said, yeah, there is, you should look harder at it, you would actually look harder at it right now as I'm talking. Look at that sun. It's got stuff in it. It doesn't. But that's part of the problem, is we attribute meaning to things we see because we have this urgency and this need to attribute meaning to maybe some things that really aren't meaningful. To wit, when we talk about prophecy, which we're going to be talking about this Sunday in our church services at 8:30 and 10:15, which you should totally come to. We're going to be talking about prophecy because Jesus is explaining to his listeners about what the signs are of the end of the age. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down specifically what he said to look for, because we should be looking for some things. But the other side of that coin is sometimes we look for things that don't have meaning, that aren't signs of the end of the age, but we want to mash them up into this puzzle and into this picture that we're making of how it has to be. And we attribute meaning from God into these things that he didn't mean to put meaning into. And so sometimes we can attribute motivation to other people because we think there's a pattern in how they're behaving, and that can be really harmful as well. So I'm saying all this as a warning, as well as just a reminder, we all do this. And we need to make sure that we are being smart and wise and rational and reasonable. And that's why we're going to study the scriptures this Sunday to really lock down what are the signs we should be looking for, and are they happening? So please come this Sunday. We are in Boulder County, and Boulder County has a mask requirement for those who are indoor gatherings, at least for the next week or two. So just so you're aware of that. But we are open for business, and we'd love to have you here. We also will be running all of our Sunday school, although we're not calling it that, adult ed and youth and kids, and we'd love to have you for that. Next Sunday, the 26th, we're going to be having a lot of fun because we're doing a welcome gathering for Pastor Gino and his wife Annette, and we're also celebrating the second anniversary of Grace Latino. And we wondered, what should we call that little time of food after the second service? We've called it potlucks for a long time, but then we thought, well, potluck sounds kind of churchy, and somebody suggested, well, let's call it a luncheon, but a luncheon kind of sounds old-fashioned. So then Gino said, well, back in Ohio, we call them carry-ins, like you carry in your food. So we're going to have a carry-in, and then somebody said, isn't carrion what vultures eat? So we don't know what to call it. But we're going to have food, and we're going to celebrate, and that's the 26th. That's next week, the 26th. So there are other things going on. Last night we had our kickoff for our Wednesday night family night with adult ed and youth and kids, and that was a blast. The Holy Spirit class that I was a part of was almost standing room only, so that was pretty great. So we want you to be involved in these things that are starting this fall, so please check your email that will come tomorrow if you're on that email list, or come and find out on Sunday some of those things that are going on. And until next time, I'm Jeff, and you're you, and God is God, and sometimes the cloud that looks like Godzilla is just a cloud.